Dear Diary, it is TorontoUnicorn and I am in video format this time. So if you are just listening, you need to know you can go to my Spotify, it's free, and see me sit down, look at the camera, and talk to you in this whole episode. That's not the case for all my Dear Diary episodes, but for this one, it is. I have gone back in time. I have had the joy of going and rewatching a series I never really got to see the first time around in the 1990s called Beverly Hills 90210. It was, notorious classic for our time. I was born in 1983, right? So this was 1990, was right around the time like my older siblings were like watching the show. I was never allowed to watch it. I grew up in a house that was a bit controlling that way and religious upbringing, and they were like, "Nope, they talk about sex. You can't watch it, right? God forbid I hear the word sex or something." So I never was allowed to watch it in the house. So if I ever was like sleeping over at a friend's house or something, that'd be when I was like, "Oh, look, let's watch 90210." So I saw a few episodes here and there, but now as an adult, as a 41-year-old no less, I saw it available on my streaming service and I was like, yeah, like I'm gonna start season one, episode one, and watch this fucking series. So I am now currently on season three, episode 27. It's amazing how long these episodes are. I like to watch TV, right? So I like to get like, carried away with something when I need a distraction in my day to day. So I have had some really interesting insights about watching a show about people in high school in the 1990s. Okay, so think about it. This is not just before iPhone, this is before portable phone. Not portable phone in the household because they had those, but I mean a cell phone. There was no cell phones. I saw a car phone a couple times, but that was like the rich kids had a car phone. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, to all these like interesting comparisons about day to day life back or comparing them back to the 90s, and I wanted to mention them. I literally wrote them down. Okay. So as I would like discover something, I'd be like, oop, 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 write it down. So, first of all, there was no texting. There's no like, hey, I think you're cute. I'm going to send you a text and all that. There was no phones. There was no such thing as texting. You could fax somebody, but that's not texting. And it's funny how they don't have any of the drama of like, oh, I was left on red for 2 days. What does it mean? You go say that to a kid in the 1990s, they're like, huh? So, yeah, no texting. If you like somebody, you talk to them when you saw them or got their home number or whatever, right? So that was something. Believe it or not, there was swingers. Swingers in 1990 season 1 of Beverly Hills 90210, and it was a couple that or trying to hit on Jack Walsh and his wife, right? Like the parents of Brenda and Brandon. And it was hilarious to see swingers. I had no idea 1990 was like representing the swingers. All right. Same thing for ordering clothes. I saw the girls pass around a catalog that they would make their list from and like submit it with somebody and then like wait a while and then the clothes would come. So like catalog ordering. No such thing as online ordering. Okay? Think about that. I remember when I was a kid getting that big thick like I don't know Toys R Us book or something and it would be like all the toys and we'd be like, "Oh, I want that for Christmas," or that. It was brilliant marketing. But anyways, yeah. So their SAT scores. So these are high school students, and when they did their SAT, which is like an exam that they do in high school, they waited for their results by mail. Mail. Not like log in and see, not get an email with your results instantly anymore. It's like you waited for it by the mail. Crazy. Some of the clothing choices, I mean, are an obvious observation. The trend or the fashion of the 1990s is different, of course, but it wasn't that distracting, as distracting as the 80s would have been, maybe. The 90s felt like, yeah, okay, like that's what people were wearing. I did see, yeah, one or two car phones that were like a flip phone or something, but it was not like a concept that people had cell phones. So I did notice the usage of payphones. Okay. So if somebody was late and they didn't show up to meet you for a movie, you might go to the nearest payphone, put a quarter in, and call their home number and be like, "Are you home? Are you standing me up?" So they did use payphones. And I remember payphones being more on the streets of our society, right, than they are now. But it was interesting to see people actually use it, including like someone who kept calling and hanging up. That she would take a quarter every time she had to call and hang up because she was like a stalker girl. And then that's the other thing, home phones. It was like you ring someone's home and it's like Russian roulette with like who answers, and it's like, oh, the dad answer, like, oh, it's Jim home. And it's just funny because I remember that. I remember being, in my own home and hearing the phone ring and someone yelling, got it. And then they get it and then they're like, Sarah, it's for you. I'm like, who is it? So it's just such a long and different way we live now where everything's like caller ID and like here's their geographical location to you. Like it's just very different. So that's crazy. I also saw video rental stores. So like you'd go browse around like Blockbuster or whatever, and you would browse the titles of videos, and if hopefully they'd have one in stock, and you'd pay like your money, and you'd take it home, and you'd watch it, and then you'd bring it back a day later. So that was video rental places. I mean, those don't exist really anymore. I mean, um, and that's where the porn was too. Like there was no like online porn. So people who were in those stores who had ventured into the curtained off area, I remember those. Yeah, I love that curtained off area. That was like their first exposure to porn. So interesting. There was vlogging. So one of the cast members was David Silver. He was played by Brian Austin Green, and he would carry around this big camcorder, right? Like this big chunky black thing, and he'd hold it with his like wristband, and he'd walk around noticeably filming if he was filming, right? And it's funny because it showed me how early vlogging, like video logging, has been in existence, or people have wanted to do it as soon as they had camcorders. They're like, let's go show a day in the life. So that was kind of cool. And then they also had a jukebox. So in the Peach Pit, which is like a place where they all hang out, people would literally put their money into a jukebox and pick a song. So I know that, like, as somebody who was born in the 1980s, I've never seen a real jukebox, really. So like I think that might have been like on the tail end of that generation or whatever. But yeah, and then the home phone thing. You know what else I thought was interesting is how everybody's phone numbers was listed in one big book, right? And not only that, they got people's addresses from their school off of a master list. So literally, they were like, they'd get a crush on some girl, and they would know exactly like where to pick her up for a date because she's in this in the school directory. And I was like, can you imagine putting your home address in a directory now attached to your name and just being like, that's okay? One more thing that is a bit controversial, but I'm just going to put it out there, is that when they had accidental pregnancies, there was a couple scenarios of people having accidental pregnancies. They had no concerns about whether they had a choice, right? The women were liberated at the time in 1990s to be able to choose whether or not to keep a pregnancy. That is not the case today in every state in the United States. And depending on when you watch this, maybe it's not even possible at all anymore. So that's something that was very different in the 1990s. The women were empowered to be able to make health choices for themselves. So overall, I have been enjoying this journey of going back to the simplicity of the 1990s without all the, online world, right? Who would have thought you could go back in time before Facebook, before Twitter, before, MySpace even, right? So there was none of that here. And to see how we all got through life without, the map thing. So that was something else, actually, the map. So there was a time when people would get lost driving somewhere, and they didn't have a phone to just pull out and be like, type in the address or give me step by step directions. Now give it to me in an English accent. Like they didn't have any of those options. They had to like look up it up on maps, hard copy physical maps, or get directions from strangers. So think about all the times when you pull out your phone, and now it's like, now go back into a time when you didn't have that. Same if you were running late or something, you couldn't text somebody and say, "Hey, I'm running late." Like, so how did we all just get through? Did we all just wait for it indefinitely for people? Like, it was just fascinating to see. And then there's also cases where the mom in the episode was had a suddenly a Spanish housekeeper, and she didn't know Spanish at all. And so the woman kept talking to her, and the she didn't know how to translate, and there was no one around. Of course, present day, I'm like, just pull out your phone and do use Google Translate, and then like problem solved. But what did you do before Google Translate? What did you do before you had an interpreter in your phone? And pretty soon you're going to have interpretation in your earbuds live. I think that's already out. So it's fascinating to think, like, how did people navigate these problems without cell phones? How did they navigate, even just storing their memories without the ability to snap a photo of everything and everything? Like, I remember when cell phones came to be with good phones, I would start taking pictures of like food products I thought were interesting in the grocery store, or like an ingredient list on something. If I had a normal camera, I wouldn't be like, I'm going to take a picture of the ingredient list. So photos became less of a special thing and more of a tool to use for whatever. And so it's just interesting that in the 90s, none of that is there. There's no such thing as an online photo album. There's no cyber stalking, no bullying, nothing like that. It's just so fascinating to go back in time. And if you need a distraction from life, you don't want to, pay, all your energy, attention to things around you that might be upsetting. Lose yourself in a 1990s a show like this and see a different world and enjoy the vacation from, where we are now. So, just wanted to share my reflections. Honestly, it's been a joy to watch these characters. I know my mom meant well with restricting it for me, but the truth is, I think that the show like really responsibly handled topics like sex, drugs, eating disorders, self harm. I think it really managed and covered those things well. And so I'm like, oh, maybe she would have liked it if she knew that, but who knows? So that was a fun journey down, 1990s memory lane, and I'm very happy that you came along with me. Once again, you can see me in video format right now for free on Spotify. I don't do all my episodes that way, but you can also get a lot more content on my fan pages. So I hope you check it out. The links are always in the description, and until next time.